late 1800s to early 1900s, urbanization swept across America, transforming cities into bustling hubs of industry and opportunity. But with progress came profound challenges. Join me as we delve into the intricate tapestry of this era, exploring the lives of those caught in the whirlwind of change. It begins amidst the crowded streets and tenement buildings of cities like New York and Chicago. To unravel the complexities of life in these urban landscapes, I turn to our first expert, Daniel Lee. Welcome to the interview. We're looking for an overview of urbanization during the Gilded Age. I'll give you a few images as prompts, and feel free to expand on it as much as you can.
Sounds good, I'll do my best.
First, can you shed light on the living conditions in the tenements and slums, particularly concerning sewage and sanitation?
Absolutely. The living conditions in these tenements were deplorable with inadequate waste disposal and sanitation facilities. Sewage often overflowed into the streets, contaminating water sources and exacerbating the spread of diseases like cholera and typhoid fever. There were also a proliferation of overcrowded and unsanitary tenements, leading to a lack of personal hygiene.
Speaking of such conditions, how did the most vulnerable members of society, such as children, fare in these subpar living conditions?
Unfortunately, for many children from the working class, manual labor was the only option to provide for their families. Child labor was rampant during this era, with many forced to work long hours in factories under unsafe conditions. Many began to work at the age of 10, working around 10 to 16 hours per day. The combination of cramped living quarters and grueling work schedules took a toll on their health and well-being, perpetuating a cycle of poverty and exploitation.
Thank you for your input, Daniel. As the wheels of industry turned, so did the lives of countless workers toiling away in factories. But beneath the promise of progress lurked dangers and injustices. And now, I welcome our second expert for these topics to the interview, Ethan Jin. First off, could you illuminate the political landscape of this era, particularly the influence of entities like Tammany Hall?
Sure, but before we talk about Tammany Hall, I have to mention political machines. Political machines were essentially autocratic groups that garnered votes and wielded political power. They usually targeted immigrant workers in urban areas, securing their votes in exchange for providing jobs and housing. Tammany Hall was one such entity. They had considerable influence and used corruption and graft to fuel their personal gain.
Yet, despite the political machinations of the time, progress was still made in the form of technology. These advancements reshaped the urban skyline, laying the foundations for the modern world. How did innovations such as elevators and skyscrapers redefine cityscapes?
Well, first off, elevators and steel frame construction revolutionized urban infrastructure, paving the way for towering skyscrapers that define modern cities. Meanwhile, improvements in systems such as water and sewage tackled long-standing sanitation issues in urban areas.
Yet, amid the march of progress, darker ideologies tainted the social fabric. Could you speak to the emergence of social Darwinism and its implications?
Yeah, so social Darwinism had huge societal implications. It propagated the false notion of inherent superiority, justifying discriminatory practices and policies. It was a troubling ideology and one that permeated societal attitudes and policies of the time. The notion essentially provided intellectual support for the laissez-faire capitalism of the time and allowed monopolies to justify their exploitation of workers.
Thank you for your input. As the curtain closes on the Gilded Age of history, we're reminded of the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. From the cramped quarters of tenements to the towering heights of skyscrapers, the echoes of the past reverberate through the streets of our cities, shaping the world we inhabit today.